And I think someone in the chat saying is a friendly fire thing. So oh dear, hostile fires, I think. By default, your troops won't kill each other, but if you start using special abilities, that's your own risk. If you're going around throwing grenades and lobbing tactical rocket strikes at your own men, yeah, that's your thing. That's your doing. So you get to kill them.
Pretty cool. All right.
So, yes.
So I think we made a lot of progress here today. Of course, this is just one type of mission that will be in our game. Of course, as mentioned, this is still in pre-beta stage, so expect a lot of polish improvement. So this version of the game is subject to change. We're really looking forward to sending the game out. Oh, here's another tanker bug. Let's just see how this plays out. Oh yeah, that's a lot.
I think you'll be fine. Oh, those rocket troopers are firing at the warriors. They probably shouldn't be. That might get messy. Oh, there's people on fire. Oh well.
But yeah, as I was saying, we're really looking forward to sending the game out there to beta testers, to those of you who have applied to the beta. We're really looking forward to hearing what you think. It's really important for us to get this done right. We know there's a lot of hype and anticipation about the game. We don't have a lot of time left, so let's just try to wrap it up here.
Yes.
We hope you really enjoyed this showcase of Starship Troopers Terran Command. You can expect a lot of news about the game in the future. There's a lot more that we are going to show you about the game. Several types of missions, different units, different types of enemies, the single-player campaign. There's just a lot to this. But I'm afraid this is it for today. So I'm running out of time, so I must say goodbye to you now, but we'll be back on the main stage pretty soon because Mark has some exciting news to share with you. Bye, guys.
here we are back to the main stage. As you see, a little bit of a change in the coloring and a new outfit. And we've seen a lot of stuff today. I have to say that some of these things have been exciting to see for the first time. We have covered a lot of ground, and we have also showed how much we change in diverse gameplay, and we are trying hard to reach out to these new players, but also stay true to our roots. What is very important for us is now that we have a full hour of new games. We have a full hour of new announcements where we will have about 10-15 minutes per game and a little bit more at the end. We will give you a lot of insights about these 4 new games, but also you will understand what I was referring to earlier on when we discussed about the idea of carefully mixing original IPs, so owned properties, licensed games, and completely new franchises. There's a bit of all of these things. There's magical spells, there's Spitfires, there's armored units, there's distant planets. You will see a load of different things over the next hour or so. So stay tuned for the next hour because it's going to be really exciting. Well, the first thing I have to say, I will just say using a little trailer that represent very well what I'm just saying. Let's see.
Old man, you seek the spell of mastery. You have come too late. My work has already met with success. If that is the truth, then your work must stop. Incantus Espora Ignius
And here it is, the first reveal of Master of Magic. We acquired the Master of Magic IP about 2.5 years ago, and there is already a lot of ground that we could cover about this game. We have partnered with one of the most outstanding development teams for this genre, the Thea the Awakening team, Muha Games, and we are going to have a quick conversation with Muha Games today. But before we get to that, we have prepared a short video of like a recorded interview that will cover some of the basics of the game and what we are planning to do with Master of Magic. Before I get to that, let me tell you that Master of Magic is an important property not only for Slitherine. It's the heritage of the video games industry. It's bearing with its name, you know, how the strategy genre started as a whole. So it is important for us that we treat it in the best possible way. We will do our best to deliver a game that is absolutely true to the roots of the franchise, but also delivers on innovation and stays, you know, true to what strategy gamers are used to these days. Let's play a little interview video and get back to the stage just after that.
Hi everyone, I'm Mila Ondro, or Yuki from Muha Games, and we're the studio working on Master of Magic. Master Master of Magic is a classic of the turn-based strategy genre, and it is our goal to bring back this gem from the 90s to a modern audience. Set in the fantasy worlds of Arcanus and Mirror, Master of Magic features a variety of creatures and peoples such as elves, dwarves, trolls and dragons. The player actually takes on the role of a great wizard, destined to crush all opposition, all for the ultimate title of the Master of Magic. As a Polish indie studio with 2 titles, Wargamers are not new to the genre. Both Thea the Awakening and Thea 2 the Shattering are in part fantasy turn-based strategy games with a lot of similar elements and themes in it, so that's probably why we were so excited to work on Master of Magic. In order to remain faithful to the original, we played, and of course continue to play, a lot of the game, just to see what made it great. And of course the real protagonists of the original Master of Magic are the wizards and their spells. And with that in mind, you get to choose what magic book your wizards get to use, what traits they get, and what race they control at the start of the game. Master of Magic isn't just about managing your cities, armies, and diplomacy. The key to victory really is your spell power and magic. So the spells in the game are immensely powerful. You can do anything from summoning an army or a mythical creature, or buffing your units, doing direct damage, or even global effects. Players begin in either Arcanus or Mirror, and will attempt to either defeat all the other wizards or cast a spell of mastery. And of course all the other wizards have the same objective and will compete for it. Our main design objective is to remain faithful to Master of Magic while enhancing the underlying systems. So one of those changes is changing from square-based maps to hexes, which we do feel offer a better, more flexible gameplay. And another one is the wizards themselves, and they got a great facelift from our talented art team. Master of Magic is currently in early alpha, but we can't wait to share more details with you as we get on. So be sure to join us on the Wargamers Discord channel or the Slitherine forums for all the upcoming news about Master of Magic.
This is really exciting because, you see from the logo itself, we try to recreate that old feel but modernizing, and that's exactly what will happen with the franchise. So let me connect with Mila, and after we recorded Mila, we'll have live Mila. Hello, Mila.
Hi.
Hello, listen. It's exciting, right? So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how does it feel working on the Master of Magic franchise?
Well, it's definitely a lot of pressure. So it's different from what we've done before, and you get the weight of working on such a beloved title and a beloved IP. So there's that, but it's a great experience. Yeah, I think so far it's been a really good one. So yeah.
Are the team fans of the original Master of Magic? Are you playing it?
Oh yeah, we're definitely playing it a lot. Some of us have played it back in the day. Not everyone, because I guess some of us missed the boat back in the 90s. I'm not sure. But we've definitely spent long hours replaying the game now. And yeah, we really enjoy it. And we're just looking forward to finding ways to bringing it into the 21st century as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was going to say, there's probably hopefully a lot of people who never played Master of Magic watching this right now. So can you tell us what it is and how it plays, what it is at its core?
Yeah, so essentially it is a turn-based strategy game. So in that way, it's all about building the cities, managing your armies, conquering your enemies. But actually, I think what makes Master of Magic different and special is that you take on the role of a wizard, and the way you really win the game is through the accumulation of power, of mana, of researching spells, and then using those spells in so many different weird ways against your enemy. So every playthrough you can come up with these new wonderful ways to outsmart the other wizards. So I think that's really the key for us of what makes Master of Magic a bit different.
Yeah, you're mentioning wizards. How do you choose which wizard to use, and can you tell us a bit more about these playable figures?
So there's going to be 14 wizards back from the original in our version 2, and so they all have their own little backstory and that sort of thing. So you've got Merlin, who's your classical quintessential wizard, and oh, there we go, Merlin. And you've got all sorts of others. Even we've got Demon, we've got all sorts. But as you choose them when you start the game, you can actually customize them a lot. So you choose the race that this wizard will be in charge of when you begin the game. You choose the magic books that they will wield, and that will then determine the spells that they can research and eventually cast. So there is a lot of room for customization, even though you have these 14 preset wizards.
Yeah, you're rightly saying about the race you attach your wizards to. So how does it work, and what are the races that are in the game?
So again, there's I believe also 14 races back from the originals, and what it is you choose the initial race that you will start with. So you start with one city and this one race, and those races range from elves, dwarves, halflings to gnolls or clacons, which are a bit more unusual. And they all have bonuses that will change your gameplay. Just on top of my head, draconians have the ability to fly. Therefore, you won't have to worry about traveling through difficult terrain or even water, and that will change your gameplay, especially at the start. You can, of course, later conquer cities of other races, so you can end up with many, many different ones, but that first choice will determine how you begin your game.
Right, so, of course, you said the super core of the game is the magic, tell us a bit more about how the magical spell books work, and how do you feature into the game?
Yeah, so you've got 5 different, let's say, schools of magic to begin with, and you can either choose to specialize in one, or you can mix and match them. But depending on how many books you have in each school of magic, that will give you access to more or less spells from that particular school. So that does determine a lot. So some people will prefer to be very specialized, and they can achieve the top tier spells of, say, life, the school of life. And then others might choose to have 3 different schools and just play around with it. So they'll only reach kind of medium level spells, but then they'll have 3 different varieties, so they can play around with that. That's the flavor of the books. And then, of course, magic is all important throughout the gameplay. So you can use magic in battle, which is your standard way that you would expect against enemy forces. But then when you zoom out and you're on your strategy map, you actually have global spells. So you can, say, block travel between the 2 planes. You can attack your enemy's cities directly from your spell book. So again, I think that's what makes Master of Magic different and special, is that you can really blast those spells out in those 2 different areas.
2 levels, right? So there's the strategic layer and the tactical layer. How do you play between these 2, and what are the difference between these 2 layers?
Yeah, so on your strategy layer, that's when you plan your advances, and you, for example, you can do diplomacy with the other wizards. You can assign mana points, whether you want to do more research on your spells or whether you want to have more power to actually cast your spells and so on. And like I said, you have global spells and things you can do on the map. Send your units out to explore the world, find places of interest where you can gather loot and other things like that. And then once you actually enter into such areas of interest, or when you want to conquer, say, other wizards' cities, that's when you go into the tactical map, and then you have your 3D battles with your units set up against the enemy, and that's how the fighting happens.
Yeah, you mentioned before the different planes, right? How do you play between? How do you go from one and the other, and what their role is in the game?
Yeah, so the two planes are Arcanus and Mirror, and the idea is Arcanus is more of your kind of neutral zone, whereas Mirror is, we kind of call it its dark evil twin. So it's the difficulty level, as it were, in terms of gameplay is slightly higher in Mirror, and you have to actually buy a special trait when you choose your wizard in order to be able to begin in Mirror. But then the rewards are also slightly better because you started with this higher level of difficulty. And the way you travel between the two planes, well, there's a couple of ways actually. One is through special towers that are set around the world. There's 6 of them, and you can also have spells. As with everything with Master of Magic, you can do anything with spells, so you can actually give your units the ability to travel between planes.
Yeah, one of the things, Mila, I mentioned at the beginning is Muha Games, right? You're one of the, I guess, emerging teams in the, and although you've got already 2 very solid games under your belt, and you've got a lot of fans out there, so. We discussed a lot about telling your fans what you were going to do next. So what are your fans gonna be expecting from this game?
Yeah, so I can already see them going a bit crazy on our Discord channel. So luckily, I think they're happy that we're doing this, and I think they could expect. I mean, obviously these are games that are different in some ways, but there's so many similarities. So it's both strategy games at the core. You've got the 4X elements, so you've got your exploration, extermination, expansion, and so on. And you've got the very, very strong fantasy and magic core, which is also something that our fans will recognize. And also, I was thinking about it today, is that the choice of wizards at the start of Master of Magic is actually quite similar in some ways to our gods in Thea too. So there's that concept of the player becoming this kind of great avatar, and then controlling the units on the ground. So I think these will be the things that hopefully our fans will recognize, and then we'll see where we can take it from there, because I can't really disclose too much of what our plans are for the future of Master of Magic. But yeah, I think our fans hopefully will be happy.
I'm sure they will. And talk about your fans, and then on the other hand, of course, you've got Master of Magic fans. So we've gone through a lot of the stuff that already is the heritage of the game. What is it that you're trying or willing to change from the original Master of Magic?
That's also a complex question, but I think the first things that will become quite obvious is we've changed to hexes, so that's the big change that everyone will notice, and just the general the UI, the artwork. So all of the wizards, the races, the heroes and champions, they're all coming back to Master of Magic, but they all got a huge facelift. So we've got great teams of artists remaking these characters and these peoples into something new, and so we hope it will feel like they come from the original, but they've got a kind of a modern twist to them. We also want to do a lot of modding in Master of Magic, so I think that's something that's our addition that we hope is going to make the game really good. So Cash, our programmer, is working really hard on making almost every aspect of Master of Magic moddable. So I think that would be something cool.
That's absolutely true, and that's really one of the cool things about being trying to build a modern game, right? Being able to give the power to the community to create their own content. That's Absolutely spot on. Mila, where are you in the development schedule? I think that I can't see the chat, but I can tell for sure that somebody's probably asking. So where are you in the development schedule right now?
I would say we're still in the pre-alpha stages. We hope to go into alpha quite soon, but we're not quite there yet. But I think the next few months there will be rapid changes, and so hopefully there'll be a lot of news to share.
Right. Mila, is there anything else you want to say to either your community, because you see them excited, or to the Master of Magic community? Anything else? Any final word you want to share?
Yeah, just to everyone who's excited about Master of Magic, I hope that we'll live up to the expectations, and we people that know us as Mucha know that we stay very connected to our community, and so we hope to meet you soon, the new fans, and hopefully together we can work to make this an awesome game.
Thank you very much, Mila. It's been a great pleasure to have you on the stage today, on the virtual stage today, and I'm sure we'll get back to seeing you around for updates very, very soon. So thanks for joining us. So you've seen Master of Magic. We're very proud, of course, of this one, and we wanted to start with something that, we wanted desperately since a long time. We prepared this for a long time. We really wanted the next Master of Magic to be a real tribute to the original. And, partnering with Mucha Games means that we really care about the franchise. We really wanted to go with someone with a passion and interest towards the topic that was really able to deliver on the mission. So that's really the message we want to give about Master of Magic. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of fans out there will be pleased about the news. And talking about owned properties and owned IPs, the next game is a game that Slitherine has, is launching for the first time. It's a fresh IP. It's something completely new. And to discuss about this new IP, I'm going to connect with lead designer and executive producer James Carey. Hello, James.
Hello.
Big reveal today?
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. It's been a long time coming.
So the title of the game is Scramble, right? So, yeah, go for it, James.
Sorry, yes, I don't know if you were going to do the intro, yeah. So it's Scramble Battle of Britain, and it's a simultaneous turn-based or WeGo dogfighting game set during the Battle of Britain. Players simultaneously issue control inputs for multiple aircraft whilst time is paused, and then those inputs are played out over a number of real-time seconds of action and animation, and before the time unpauses again, and you can review just what happened and plan for the next turn. And then at the end of the match, you can review the whole engagement as one uninterrupted dogfight.
Yeah, so the idea behind Scramble is really to give this sort of feeling of the dogfighting action, but also empower the player with the ability to really decide what the strategic moves are and make decisions that are relevant to the fight. What are you trying to build with Scramble, and why is it different from anything else that's been done in the past?
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been making sort of offbeat indie games for a decade with a company called Big Robot. So we made So You're Being Hunted and The Signal from Tolver. But with Scramble, I wanted to reach like a core audience of wargame fans that I haven't really been involved with since I worked on Arma 2 with Bohemia Interactive. And I had a prototype of this game that I put together with some support from the UK Games Fund. And I approached the home of Wargamers, Slitherine, and here we are. So Scramble's sort of mechanically quite novel, but thematically very recognisable, and that's deliberate. I'm trying to kind of lure people in with the familiar World War II setting and then give them a kind of gameplay that's a bit different, because I felt like the tactical space of a 3D volume of air was a bit underexploited, because a dogfight is a sort of a very dynamic arena with lots of moving parts and lots of variables, and in order to occupy that space as a player, you're usually either limited to controlling like a single unit, so like in a flight sim or a more actiony space combat game or flying the aircraft in Battlefield or something like that. So you either get that, or you get to control multiple units in an RTS or something like that. But the immediacy of the action can get a bit lost. And there are some good sort of dogfighting games around that sort of tactical dogfighting games, but they can feel a bit board gamey, a bit like you're sort of moving pieces on a board rather than flying the planes. And I wanted to feel like you were flying the planes, so like as if you're playing a real-time dogfighting game, but still have access to the wider tactical space that having multiple aircraft in a 3D volume would give you.
I think the system itself is really interesting because it just mixes a lot of different elements. We discussed this a lot when talking about the game, and how much it was a simulation and how much it was as a tactical game. I guess that what we're trying to achieve here is give the ability to the player to maneuver the planes, but still give them the absolute sort of sense of playing a strategy game ultimately.
Yeah, one of the ways you can get away from that kind of board gamey feel is to kind of keep things real time, so you can do like real time strategies and things like that. But there's sort of not many games that kind of take advantage of that 3D volume of space. So like historically, there's been stuff like Homeworld, which I was a big fan of, but there's not a huge amount that kind of give you that full verticality and that kind of airiness that I wanted to get. And like RTSs are great for sort of like large scale engagements and things, but sort of big sweeping battles with loads of units. But it always kind of removes you one step from the pilots and the kind of immediate access to what those guys are doing. So what we do in Scramble is we just give you like control of like a handful of aircraft. So you get sort of a section of 3 or 4 aircraft as your kind of default unit size. And then we freeze time and we let you plan your maneuvers, and then everybody's actions all play out at the same time, and everybody moves and shoots. So you get sort of planning, action, review going in a quick cycle. And it's that sort of rapid cycle of phases ticking over that keeps you on your toes, because it's all happening against the clock. So you've kind of got a limited amount of time to put in the control inputs for all your aircraft.
Yeah, I can see actually from the gameplay you're showing that there's a counter like ticking down like 20 seconds or something. That's your give order phase, and then what happens next?
So you basically get sort of this is a server setting thing, but you can get sort of by default 15 seconds sort of planning time per aircraft in your section, and then you use your controls. So you're using throttle, pitch, roll, all the kind of flight surface controls you would if you were flying it as a real-time game, and you sort of set the flight path of your aircraft going in that limited planning phase, and then when the timer runs out, everybody's plans execute all at the same time, and you get to kind of review that and rewind time and kind of look at what everybody else was doing and kind of plan for what's going to happen in the next turn. And because you've only got sort of 3 or 4 aircraft, you can kind of keep sort of situational awareness of everything that's going on without kind of completely losing your mind about all the different things. Sort of once you've got sort of 3 or 4 aircraft on the go, that's kind of a lot of moving parts. And you can control more, and you can sort of buddy up with other people. So you can have co-op where, say, like you might have Hurricanes and I might have Spitfires, and we might have a bomber intercept mission. And so you might go off and tackle some bombers whilst I'm keeping the 109s off your back with the Spitfires. And so you can kind of have a larger engagement as well, but like the default unit that you control is sort of 3 or 4 aircraft.
It seems to be like a game that fits multiplayer very, very nicely. So what's the focus? Is it multiplayer? Is it to create this dynamic challenge between 2 people? What's your vision of this?
Yeah, I mean, so there are squadron management elements, and there is sort of a planned campaign which will kind of thematically linked sequentially difficult missions into a longer campaign. But the focus is definitely on sort of match play and on kind of building your squadron to fight other squadrons, and you kind of have like attrition and squadron management that you can customize your aircraft with, and you get progression of pilots and their skills increase so they can get more out of their aircraft. So it's kind of like a sort of multiplayer match-based focus game, but you can play it single player and you can play it cooperatively. It's kind of like a sandbox, basically, a kind of dogfight scenario building sandbox.
Right. How long do you think a game will last? Is it that fast-paced that it lasts just minutes, or what's the pace you're intending?
Sort of 20 minutes is the kind of turnaround time we're going for an average engagement, because everything's broken down into sort of very discrete chunks of time. The planning phase, 15 seconds, and then the action phases in between is like literally a couple of seconds long once you see the last move play out and then freeze again. And so while a game lasts 20 minutes, the actual engagement when you play it back in real time is sort of minutes. It's just that it's been slowed down and broken up into those sort of staccato chunks, which is what allows you to process that amount of data.
Where are you in your development schedule right now, James? If you can say anything about that, or if you want to keep that under in secret, just feel free.
So yeah, we're sort of out of alpha now. I guess we've got probably Q1-ish, maybe something like that.
Okay. That makes sense. I think that when you start developing something this new, and you have to test a lot of systems, it's not something that's been proven or anything. It's something that's so brand new that you really have to test it thoroughly to make it happen and to make it
tweak the variables that are about sort of all the altitudes that you're setting for your aircraft and the positions and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of really customize a match to suit you and the kind of conditions that you want to play, and whether or not you're playing with sort of a 2v2 or even a 1v1 dogfight, if that's the kind of thing you want to do, or if you want to have a larger scale match that has set objectives like, eliminate 10 bombers by turn 6, or ensure that these bombers don't get destroyed as a counter objective and things like that. So you can kind of set a more complicated match up if that's how you want to play it. But you can also do just straight dogfights that are kind of more a sort of deathmatchy type thing. So we're all about kind of giving the player the tools to create the kind of scenarios they want to make, and that kind of extends to the outside of the match arena as well, where you're doing lots of sort of aircraft customization and sort of applying your own decals that you've unlocked through match play and things like that. So we've got sort of customization for camo schemes and things like that, which will allow you to decorate your own aircraft in a way that's kind of unique to your squadron when you take it online, without having to share any texture data or anything like that, because it's all sort of procedurally generated through the shaders. So you can actually customize your aircraft with sort of bespoke camos and know that the other players will see that stuff without having to download anything themselves.
I have to say also the other thing, talking about graphics and such, the other thing is that your UI really shows that you're taking a lot of attention, giving a lot of attention to how usable and user-friendly the game is, because it really screams for a game being a game that is really trying to target a very wide audience, although being very specific in the subject. Right.
So we wanted this to be very accessible, and the whole game can be played on pad. And actually, I prefer playing it on pad now. And we've taken it to shows. When I had the original prototypes, we took it to shows, and people were very kind of keen to pick up and play and experience this kind of relatively novel mechanic, and it all kind of works quite nicely. But the key thing is conveying quite a lot of complicated information in a very short space of time. So the UI and the UX of that is really, really important, and making sure that people have the tools to pass that complicated space quickly and give them information without overloading them with loads and loads of data. So we've been sort of quite ruthless in the amount of data that we reveal, and we sort of build a lot of information into things like the flight paths, so the kind of stress on your aircraft as you're flying, because we have sort of component damage on the aircraft as well. So like you can blow an aileron off, or you can have tail and rudder damage, and that will affect your ability to fly, obviously. Those effects are then displayed on the flight path. So you get a lot of your information from the flight path as you're mapping it out, as you're kind of moving it in the space and getting that full 3D volume, because you're not kind of setting set moves. You're just flying the plane. It's just that everything's frozen, and the ghost line that projects shows you where that plane will go.
Well, this is really, really, really cool, James. I think one of the cool things about you being a fully part of the team, it means that we can bother you a lot of times for updates in the next few months. So expect to be recruited for tea times and more streams in the future. And thanks for for joining us today and for revealing Scramble to the world. And hopefully this is the start of a great journey for Scramble as a franchise and for this newly formed team in the Slitherine development task force. So thanks for joining, James.
Thanks, Marco. Bye.
All right, so this was Scramble. As I said, we are about 50% through the new announcements. One of the things that we said in the initial part was that we have at the moment 16 unannounced projects, so now it makes it 14 for you. And by the end of the day, there's going to be 12. The next project is some outstanding and really aspirational project. It's a game that we are proud of having because it really is a testament of how we are trying to embrace new subjects and new audiences. It's real time, so for a change, and we don't have many real-time games, and there's a lot of cool things about this game that we're going to discuss with the development studio. But before we get to that, let me run a trailer for this. Well, welcome, Broken Arrow. This is one of the moments I would really, really love to be in the chat, see what's happening, and I really just desperately want to just check what is happening and what you guys are saying. Broken Arrow is an exceptionally ambitious project, and to discuss this project, I have with me Félix Habert from France. Hello, Félix.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. We can hear you fine.
Okay. Hello,
and,
Marco.
We have both Félix and his beard with us today. And Félix, welcome. And I think this is a very, this trailer represents very well the ambition of the project. But before we even start, can you tell us about how this project came to life and who are you?
Yes, absolutely. So. This project started 3 years ago with a team of passionate wargamers who gathered their skill around one dream, make their own game. And this is my dream as well. So I'm creative director at Steel Balalaika Studio. Before that, I've been working for 8 years as game designer, including 6 years with Eugene Systems, the creators of Wargame and Steel Division series. And for my part, I've been joining the project Broken Arrow 2 years ago, and since then we've been a long way. We started from a few programmers, designers working during their free time to now a full team working full time with an editor backing us behind this project. So it's a community community dream becoming a real game and a real project.
It's exciting, and it's also unbelievable that such a cool-looking feat is done by community members that decided to gather together. Now, of course, the team is more structured, but it's a great feat on its own. Felix, because this is a brand new thing, so I would like you to just frame the project. What it is, and what is it, the scope of the project, and what are you willing to achieve with Broken Arrow?
Yes, absolutely. So, Broken Arrow, it's a real-time tactics game set in a realistic modern warfare environment. And what we aim at with this project is to find a sweet spot between action and simulation, because there is a big empty gap between those two styles in video games. And I think there are a lot of people around who enjoy realism, just like me, but also they enjoy action, good graphics with huge explosions, sound, and good ergonomics. And I don't think we have to sacrifice one to get the other. So everybody deserves good graphics. And if I had to make a comparison with cinema, I would say we don't make an action movie, we don't make a documentary, we make a war movie. In between those two things, with very epic battles, and yet a high level of realism. So that's what we are aiming at.
Yeah, one of the it's hard when you start talking about the project, because I can imagine people have a lot of questions. So I'm going to try and make all the right questions to lead the players to understand what Broken Arrow is. So number one is combined arms, right? So you're looking at building a game that represents this in a proper, cohesive way. How do you do that?
Absolutely. Well, usually when you talk about real-time tactics, you're thinking about a smaller scale with a few soldiers, sometimes a few vehicles. Here we're talking about a very large scale. You command hundreds of soldiers on large maps, more than 100 square kilometers. You have a very, very powerful zoom that can show you the large battlefield, and also a very large, in fact, a very precise level of detail. So this zoom, it allows you to move from a very large battlefield to very close to your units if you want to see the action up close. And these units, we have a lot of them. So infantry, tanks, aircraft, and they have a very high level of customization. So you can choose the loadout for helicopters, for planes. You can choose the armor package. You see the screen here. You're showing the armor package of the tank, but also the weapon that you put on the remote weapon station on top of the tank. All these things are very precise, as well as the 3D model, the sound going with that. So yeah, what we do is really very large scale and very high level of detail, both at once. And for the large scale, we have tactical nukes, we have airdrop of infantry and vehicles as well. We have shore landings with amphibious assault ship, like those big 300 meters long ship, things like that. So yeah, both large and detailed. That's the two key elements.
Of course, we're seeing very, very clearly it's a modern setting. Why did you choose that setting, and what do you think are the challenges of tackling this specific subject, which is completely different from other settings you might have chosen, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, for me, the first, I as a player, I would say the first reason to choose modern setting is that it's missing. The number of strategy games, real-time strategy game choosing this setting are very rare, and it's super interesting. In fact, what we're representing is the potential war of the 21st century. So it's the summum of the of warfare that we have, the most powerful things, the most powerful tank, planes, weapons. So yeah, if you can, let's do what's the most powerful. Let's do what's the most impressive. The limit we're putting to ourselves is we don't go too much into the next generation of warfare, the real warfare of information, where everything that matters is invisible things. So we stay in the domain of the visibility. So with our classic type of units like airplanes, tanks, artillery, but with the in their most advanced stage of warfare. So planes that include drones, for instance, but in the end, a drone is like a plane in its use by the military. So yeah, that's why we chose this setting. It's really interesting, and I don't know, these are dream machines, so maybe the helicopters flying around, these things. Myself, I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, but I'm short-sighted, so that wasn't possible. I love helicopters, and what is the best period for helicopters? It's modern warfare with helicopters and so on.
Yeah, one of the things I was saying at the very beginning of this is that our business, our industry is driven by the passion, and we can clearly see that you love what you are doing. As one of the things that we mentioned when we were trying to chat about what were the relevant points for this interview was, you owe a lot of kudos to your community. Talking about passion, is there anything you want to say to them? And how do you start talking to them? How did all that community project start?
Well, it started from a team of players, the Steel Balalaika team, who was like a gaming community with more than 1,000 players, and it expanded, and this project I wasn't there at the very beginning. I joined 1 year after the beginning, and I heard about it because of that, because of all these people talking about the game, and that was really the key of our success. We moved step by step by communicating through these people, that's how that's how people working with us joined the team, including Slitherine, who I'm sure heard about the project by browsing the post that some people from our Discord server posted somewhere on the internet, and that's how the team formed. Over time, it took time, but now
you're here, and you said this is like a dream come true. Well, the dream will come true when the game is in the hands of the players, of course. That's the real big achievement. Where can you tell us approximately where you are in the development schedule, and what we can expect in the coming months?
Well, at the moment we are still at an early phase of development. This is already good looking, but we have a ton of work to do in front of us. So the game shouldn't be out before 1 year. So about 1 year, one more year of development. But this time we're working much faster because, as I said, it's been 3 years that we work on that. But we were working on our free time during the weekends and so on. Now we are working full time. So of course we will achieve much more in this year of work than we have achieved in 3 years before. So
we'll probably have the game going live around the same time next year. Who knows? But we'll see soon, and we'll have you soon on one of our next streams to update us on how the game is being developed. Is there any final word you want to say? Is there anything else you want to say to the community or to the players out there?
Well, yeah, I would like to thank the community who supported us, because, as I said, it's by showing interest for the project and talking about it around that we met the people, we met Slitherine. They helped, they made the dream come true. We also had people sending us money on Patreon, and this is not enough to pay a team, but it gave us enough motivation to go on, because you don't hold 3 years working on your free time after your day job every day, every weekend, without some concrete feedback. So yeah, a big thank you to all these persons who believed in us, because we wouldn't be there without them. And yeah, to continue to support the project, to continue to support the game, that's the best thing to do, to keep talking about it. That increased visibility, and that makes a very successful project in the end.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you for joining us. This was Broken Arrow. We are super happy and excited about this project. And as I said, you couldn't have more diverse products in the strategy genre, right? We said at the beginning, it's very different things from the other. And I am, almost like at the point of finishing this stream. Before we get to the final reveal, I would like to have Ian with me for one last chat. Of course, it's been a long day. It's been a long day preparing. It's been a long period preparing this event, and there's a lot of energy going on to put together all the builds. I know we talked about the builds earlier on with Ian, putting together the materials and so on, and setting up everything. And we want to thank also the community of players who follow us every week at tea time, but also in other occasions. We have a very solid crew that comes with us every stream we make, and they give us the motivation also to actually do these bigger things. It's a big effort, but we sort of owe the community this kind of thing. And next time, I swear I'll have a chat live so I can answer some of the questions, and it's going to be like more normal than this. But we really wanted to make something that sets the tone for the future Slitherine. So Ian, sorry for having you wait. Welcome back.
Oh yeah, Marco, it's been great. We were talking earlier about delegating and not really knowing everything that's going on. Some of the stuff that got released today I hadn't seen before. The Broken Arrow trailer, that was amazing. I know the game because we did the contract and reviewed everything, signing it up, but then it gets passed on to somebody else to manage, and because there's so much going on, we didn't get a chance to see all the materials. But some of the stuff, the Scramble looks amazing. The trailer for Broken Arrow was awesome. Masters of Magic looked great. The whole atmosphere was just brilliant. What Mover are doing with that, it's really exciting for us to see. Just because there's so much going on, it's informative for us, not just for people outside the company as well. And as you said, really big thanks to everybody for tuning in and watching, because I think the numbers have been pretty good. I think you've got some pretty high viewer numbers coming in from all the restreams, which is really, really positive. And one thing you said about the passion for these games, the reason that these games work and that we can do what we do is that the passion that these teams have. You can't create these teams. You can't come along with a chunk of money and an idea and then create a team from nothing. You need those really talented, passionate people in there, and then you can invest in them when you find them, but you can't create that from scratch. And that's what we focus on doing, finding those people with passion and then giving them the resources to really make their passion come to life.
This is exactly one of the points we want to make. We had something like 50 different Twitch streamers, contributors, content creators hosting us today, hosting our stream, commenting, doing live commentary. Some of these are all-time, friends and people that stream on our channel regularly, and it's impossible to thank them all. But and we also had some bigger channels hosting our stream today. We had the GameStar guys, in Germany, Every Eye Multiplayer, and IGN in Italy, and more. I'm going to forget someone, and somebody is getting very upset now. You know, of how growth is important to us, but also how we want to grow it in a solid way, you know, and being sustainable for us. How is it that, you know, after all these years, we are releasing or re-releasing Master of Magic? It's unbelievable to me.
It's really exciting. And Master of Magic was such a great game. I spent countless hours playing it. Back then, never dreamed we ever get hold of that license and being able to redo it. And when we did manage to get hold of that, it was a great opportunity. And we were surprised that Atari had misplaced all the source code, so that made things slightly more complicated. But even so, it kind of forced us to redo everything from scratch, which may have been a good thing in the long run. But yeah, some of the opportunities we're having now, success breeds success. Things last few years have been going really well, and it just makes it easier to do things in the future. And so it's a really exciting time.
Now we have one last thing, as they say. One last thing means we are going to announce a game and nothing else. We're not going to say anything else. It's a 1-minute thing. You're gonna see now. We were talking about mixing original IPs and new games and licenses. We work pretty successfully with Games Workshop, with Sony Pictures for Starship Troopers. We've worked successfully with NBC Universal. What do you think is the role of a license these days in our industry and for us specifically?
There's a couple of things that the license really does for you. So it gives you that backstory, and it has a nice cohesive world, and so it puts limitations on you because you have to fit with that backstory, but sometimes those limitations force you to be creative and find interesting solutions to problems. And so that whole backstory and that framework that it comes with, and all of those units that exist, for example, because our games all are based around building units and tanks or vehicles or whatever uniforms, that really helps to have a basis for the art team to work from. And then the other thing it obviously does is it gives you an awareness step. When you're doing a game on World War II, people understand what World War II is, and it's easier to sell them a game on World War II than it is to sell them on a period of history they don't know about. And it's the same when you're dealing with a license. That license just gives you that extra awareness. People understand what they're buying into. The press pay more attention. So it's all those kind of things together that really help to make licenses a really valuable kind of tool in the box for us.
Right. So it's the moment to go for this. So before we get to that, and everyone is ready for that. I'm going to run to see what's happening in the chat. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Ian, for joining us again. Thanks, everyone, for making our afternoon very special. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday at tea time. It's going to be a new phase of tea time, I guess, with so many new followers, subscribers, people interested in what we've just announced. And, it's our time to say goodbye and thank everyone for joining us. Make sure you tune in very soon, and I will sure see you at the next Home of Wargamers live showcase. Goodbye.